Okay. First of all, L'chaim, everybody. The Rebbe Rashab called in the Friedrich Rebbe one year and he told him Good Yom Tif. It was Chai Elul. He told him Good Yom Tif. And he explained to him that because Chai Elul is the birthday. L'chaim, was it? Buddy. L'chaim. Chai Elul is a very big Yom Tif. What's the story of Chai Elul, so to speak? What happened in Chai Elul? Chai Elul, in the year Tov Nun Ches, which is acronym for Nachas, which was 1698, in the secular calendar, 1698, the Baal Shem Tov was born. There's a lot of stories about Baal Shem Tov's birth. His father was Rabbi Eliezer, a very great tzaddik nister. On his deathbed, he told his son, you should fear nobody but Hashem himself. And therefore, the kid used to go into the forests. As a little 5-year-old kid, he became an orphan. A little while later, he became orphaned from his mother, too. And he used to go into the forest to meditate. And the Baal Shem Tov was a great. So he was born in the year Tov Nun Ches, which is the acronym of Nachas, 1698. The Alter Rebbe was born in the year Tov Kuf Hey, which was in the English 1745. 1745, the Alter Rebbe was born. In fact, everybody knows the America's Publication Society is called Kahas, or now they say Kahat. Kahat books, all the publishing of all the Chabad books are called Kahat publications. Kahas is named, the Rebbe gave it that name because Tov Kuf Hey, or to switch around, Kahas, was the year that the Rebbe was born, which was in the year 1745. Not only, the Rebbe explains, not only was it the physical birth of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, but it was the spiritual birth also. What does that mean? When the Baal Shem Tov was 26 years old, when the Baal Shem Tov turned 26, he had a revelation from Achi Ashuleni. Achi Ashuleni was one of the Nevi'im in the Bezdin of David HaMelech, but he was, as is brought down, from the Yeitzei Mitzrayim. He was one who was a kid, he left Egypt. And he was still in the time of David HaMelech. And he was a very, very holy man. And when the Baal Shem Tov reached 26 years old, Achi Ashuleni came to him and explained to him that he has a very special neshama with a very special mission to accomplish in life. And it says for 10 years, from the time the Baal Shem Tov was 26, until the Baal Shem Tov reached 36, the Baal Shem Tov was taught the entire Torah from Achi Ashuleni. He wasn't a physical human being at that time, but the neshama of Achi Ashuleni came and taught the Baal Shem Tov the entire Torah. At the age of 36, when the Baal Shem Tov turned on Chai Elul, 36 years old, Achi Ashuleni said to him, Milmaila from heaven, they decided that now you have to reveal yourself publicly. Until now, the Baal Shem Tov was a hidden tzaddik. Nobody knew about him. In fact, he was a behelfer. He was what's called today a teacher's aide. The Baal Shem Tov was a teacher's aide. And it says, the Maggid said about the Baal Shem Tov, Halavai, we should only kiss a Sefer Torah like the Baal Shem Tov used to kiss those children that he took to the school and from the school. He was a teacher's aide, not even the regular teacher. But he was a big tzaddik nist, he was a hidden tzaddik. At the time of 36 years old, Achi Ashuleni came to the Baal Shem Tov and he said to him, Boychik, in heaven they said you have to reveal yourself. Baal Shem Tov refused. He refused, he put up a fight. And the way it is, the story goes, Achi Ashuleni said to him, in heaven they said, you either fulfill your mission or you have nothing more to stay here in the world, we're going to take you away. The Baal Shem Tov basically was forced, and when the Baal Shem Tov was 36 years old on Chai Elul, the Baal Shem Tov started revealing Teiros HaChasidus. And therefore, as the Rebbe explains, not only is Chai Elul the physical birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the Mizritcha Magid, but Chai Elul for the Baal Shem Tov was a spiritual revelation. When Achi Ashileni came to him the first time, and 10 years later when the Baal Shem Tov started publicizing the teachings of Chassidus. Even as far as the Alter Rebbe is concerned, the Alter Rebbe's father's name was Baruch, who was also a follower and a hidden tzaddik of the Baal Shem Tov, a follower of the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov's mother, the Alter Rebbe's mother, his name was Rivka. It was Baruch and Rivka, and they got married, and a year after they got married, they didn't have any children yet. So they went to the Baal Shem Tov for Tishrei, and the Baal Shem Tov told them, you're going to have a child. And then when they were leaving the Baal Shem Tov, again, they told the Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov reiterated his bracha that they're going to have a child, and they were extremely happy. The day the Alter Rebbe was born, which was Chai Elul on a Wednesday, which was, by the way, as the Rebbe always say, Revi b'Shabbos, when they hung up the sun and the moon, the two big luminaries were hung, revealed on Wednesday. The Baal Shem Tov was born on a Monday, but the Alter Rebbe was born on a Wednesday when the big lights, the luminaries of the world were lit, brought into the sky and hung, so to speak, in the sky on Wednesday. The day the Alter Rebbe was born, the Baal Shem Tov was in a completely different mood. Even though normally Chai Elul, the Baal Shem Tov Farbrengen for his birthday, but usually as 12 days before Rosh Hashanah, the Baal Shem Tov was very serious. The year the Alter Rebbe was born, the Baal Shem Tov was in a complete simcha. And the Chassidim the students of the Baal Shem Tov didn't have the faintest idea why. And the Baal Shem Tov was telling them that a new neshama is coming into the world that's going to illuminate the world with new teachings of the inner secrets of the Torah. And on the 25th of Elul, which was the day of the Alter Rebbe's bris, again the Baal Shem Tov threw a festive party, a festive Farbrengen, a festive meal, and it was a very big simcha by the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov again was speaking about this great neshama that is coming down into the world to illuminate the world. So before we go into some details, I just want to mention one thing about the Alter Rebbe's neshama. It's brought down in many places that the Alter Rebbe's neshama was called a neshama chadasha, a new neshama. What does a new neshama mean? Not recycled. So some places, by the way, it says that normal neshamas, especially in our generation, are neshamas that are reincarnated from previous generations. The Arizal writes that every neshama has to learn all parts of Torah and fulfill all 613 mitzvahs. And until a neshama learns all parts of Torah, meaning simple, pshat, remez, drush, sod, until the neshama learns all parts of Torah and keeps all the mitzvahs, the neshama has to keep coming down again and again and again until it accomplishes that mission. With the exception of mitzvahs that belong to a king and others like a kohanim, that you can't have so many kings, and there's a lot of neshamas. According to the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, there's 600,000 general neshamas, like the neshamas that left Egypt. And Alter Rebbe in Tanya says each of those neshamas are composed of 600,000 neshamas. So there's 360, something like 360 billion neshamas that are existence. But each neshama, when it comes into the world, every neshama has to fulfill all mitzvahs and all Torah learning. And until that happens, the neshama has to keep coming down again and again. So some people say a neshama chadasha means a new neshama that didn't come down before, but that's not really what it means. The Rebbe in the Sichem says to look in the Kutatera in Shir HaShirim, that the Alter Rebbe says, what is the definition of a neshama chadasha? What do you mean a new neshama? Not used, brand new. I mean, like, what does it mean a new neshama? And it's a remarkable concept in Chassidus, and that is as follows. It says in Kabbalah that all neshamas of all generations were included in Adam Arishan. All the neshamas of all the generations were included in Adam Arishan's neshama. In Adam Arishan's head were included all the neshamas of all the heads of the generations. The one in the Adam Arishan's hand were nichlal and included all the neshamas which are the right hand and the left hand and the stomach and the foot and the right foot and the toenails, and every neshama, especially generally speaking, were all included in the neshama of Adam Arishan. What is a neshama chadasha? Now the Rebbe brings down in Likutei Torah from the Arizal. A neshama chadasha means he wasn't included in the neshama of Adam Arishan. And as Alter Rebbe uses the expression, not only but he says he's even higher than the Yechida of Adam Arishan. Yechida is the essence of Adam Arishan. Neshama chadasha, the Arizal explains, and Alter Rebbe brings it down in a few lines, means not a neshama that didn't come down before, a neshama that was never included in Adam Arishan, meaning not only is it greater than neshamas, it's a completely different caliber of neshamas that has no comparison whatsoever to any other neshama. And that neshama, trust me, I don't know what it means. You don't know what it means. And you know what? Don't lose any sleep over it, because it's way beyond us what such a neshama means. Even to understand what Yechidah Shebenefesh means, we can. And here you're saying that the neshama chadasha, what Alter Rebbe was a neshama chadasha, is higher than Yechidah Shebenefesh of Adam Arishan's neshama. So it's infinitely greater. And that neshama was the neshama of the Alter Rebbe that came into the world on Chai Elul. Now we mentioned many times, the Rebbe told somebody, a newscaster in New York, that the definition of a birthday, what does a birthday mean? What's the definition of a birthday? Definition of a birthday means this is the day Hashem realized that the world cannot exist without you. It's a remarkable word. It's a one-liner that the Rebbe told this person. This person celebrated, it was a Jew, not from, I think his name was Barry Farber, if I'm not mistaken. But the Rebbe told him on his birthday, he went to the Rebbe for dollars, whatever it is. And the Rebbe said to him that the definition of a birthday is the day Hashem realized that the world cannot exist without you. Which means when Chai Elul, Tov Nun Ches, the year the Baal Shem Tov was born, and that Chai Elul, when the Baal Shem Tov was born, that was the day that the world needed a new revelation that must be accomplished only through the Baal Shem Tov. When 47 years later, when the Baal Shem Tov started saying, Gadol Hashem u'mehulo ma'ed be'ir alekenu perik memches, because that's how old the Baal Shem Tov was, 47, when the Alter Rebbe was born, and that Chai Elul of the Alter Rebbe's neshama coming down into the world is a day that the world needed a new revelation of teachings of the Alter Rebbe's Chassidus. It's a complete different thing. And we're going to discuss a little bit, at least on our level, what these things mean and how it needs to come into a practical level. That's what a Farbrengen is all about. The purpose of a Farbrengen is, as it says in Chassidus, to take out the dead body, which refers to the Yetzer Hara, which is dead, and to bring in Achnosas Kala, to bring in the Simcha Shel Mitzvah. And we'll discuss how Chai Elul is Simcha, even in the Aved of Tshuva, even 12 days before Rosh Hashanah. So it says in many places, the Frierdiker Rebbe brought down a lot about Chai Elul, and the Rebbe elaborated on all these concepts that we'll soon see. From Chai Elul until Rosh Hashanah is 12 days. Okay, Chai Elul, counting Chai Elul until Chavtes Elul, until Rosh Hashanah, is 12 days, which means, the Rebbe explains, each day from now to Rosh Hashanah, every Jew, especially a Chassid, has to give a reckoning for the previous year, the month. In other words, Chai Elul, you have to make a reckoning for the previous Tishrei. Yutes Elul, we have to make a reckoning for Cheshvan. Chaf Elul for Kislev, and so on. So it says the 12 days from Chai Elul to Rosh Hashanah is the time when we need to reckon. In other words, tonight and tomorrow, each one of us, I would say you have to go home, but you're home already. You have to make a reckoning what I did in the last Tishrei and how it could be improved. Not chas v'sholem, how bad I was in the last Tishrei, how bad I was in the last Cheshvan and Kislev and Tevis, but you spoke Shabbos in Shul, in order to be able to confess, in order to be able to realize we did something wrong, we need to know how great we are. Because if you think you're a rag, you think you're a shmata, then it's normal to do evil. So then I didn't do evil. You see the problem when you don't drink the mashkin, then you spill it. Anyway, just for that, yes, l'chaim. So every day we need to make a reckoning about the previous year, Tishrei, what we did in Tishrei, what we did in Cheshvan. And how to make it better than the year before. Every Rosh Hashanah, Dr. Rebbe says in Tanya, comes down a new revelation of godliness. He bases it on the pasuk in Chumash. I don't want to elaborate on it because I want to get more into Chai Elul. But Dr. Rebbe in Tanya says basically that in every Rosh Hashanah, a new revelation of godliness comes down that never existed before. And he bases it on the pasuk. The pasuk says about Eretz Yisrael, Tamid Einei Hashem Elokecha ba. Constantly the eyes of God are on the land of Eretz Yisrael, Mereishis Hashana vad Achar Shana, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, which basically means forever. So the Alter Rebbe in Tanya asks, that means forever. So why does the pasuk say from the beginning of the year till the end of the year? It should say the eyes of God are in Eretz Yisrael la'elam voed, forever. Why does it say from the beginning of the year to the end of the year? And Alter Rebbe in Tanya explains, and Rebbe brought this out by every Yom Tov and everything. When Rosh Hashanah comes every year, it's a new revelation of godliness that never existed before. If a new revelation of godliness comes down on this Rosh Hashanah that didn't exist before, so based on that, as great as I was last Rosh Hashanah, this year I have to be greater. I'm a year older. We're supposed to be a year smarter. We're supposed to have accomplished more in life. There's a greater revelation of godliness. So therefore I need to be greater. In order to know what you become greater in, we need to make a reckoning. What did I do last Tishrei? What good things did I do last Tishrei? And now how can I make them better this year? Cheshvan, Kislev, and all 12 days until Rosh Hashanah. Okay, now, the previous Rebbe, the Friediger Rebbe writes, and the Rebbe has many sichos on this concept. The Friediger Rebbe in Likutei Deburim writes the following. He writes that Chai Elul, what is Chai? Life. Chai is life. The life of Elul. So the Friediger Rebbe brings down two versions. And he says, the previous Rebbe writes, Chassidim used to say that Chai Elul brings life, Chayis, into Aveda of Elul. A second version, he says, Chai Elul brings life into the Aveda of Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li, which basically is the acronym of Elul. So the Friediger Rebbe says two things. Chai Elul brings life into Elul, and it brings life into the Aveda of Ani L'Deidi, I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. So the Rebbe explains what's the double expression mean. Basically, seemingly it's the same. The Aveda of Elul and the Aveda of Ani L'Deidi V'Deidi Li. What's the double expression? So before we go there, I want to mention one more thing the Rebbe once said. The Rebbe once said about Chai Elul, what do you mean life in Elul? It brings life into the whole thing of Elul. What is life? The Rebbe says very simple and very practical. You know, a healthy person who's healthy doesn't feel their head, doesn't feel their stomach, doesn't feel their foot, doesn't feel their whatever. A healthy person doesn't feel themselves. When you have a headache, you have a stomach ache, you have a foot ache, or you have a pain, whatever, so then you start feeling yourself. That's when you're sick. A healthy person doesn't realize, they don't feel, oh, I have a head, I have a stomach, I have a... When are you not well? When you have a terrible headache, or you have a toothache, or whatever, or stomach ache, or a pain in your foot. That's when a person feels himself. And it's a very interesting thing that Rebbe spoke. Basically, it means like this. A healthy person does not feel himself. If you feel yourself, you're sick. Think about this in serving God. It's remarkable. In order to serve Hashem properly, we need to have bittul, humility, submission, not thinking about ourselves. Once we get ourselves involved in the picture, so then we're not well. When a person stops feeling, I said this many times, the guys that come to shul know this, but my father used to say that there's two words in English, ill and well. Ill and well. Both end with LL. Ill, though, is ILL. And well is we LL. What does that mean? When a person thinks of themselves, and it's remarkable, I mentioned this many times, in English, I is always capitalized, the big I. How do you say I in Hebrew? Ani. Ani, the letter's ayin. Aleph nun yud is aleph yud nun. Ayin, nothing. In Torah, the person is ayin. In Lahavil, in Goyishkeit, in secularism, in the Yetzirah world, then I am me. So the Rebbe wants to explain what is Chai Elul. Chai Elul is the time that you put life into Elul. I'm not talking to explain what the Rebbe said, B'chlal. The Rebbe said Chai Elul is the time you put life into yourself. Now, what does life mean? What does health mean? Well, you don't feel yourself, bittul. And by the way, as we'll get there soon, and that's why you need to have simcha. Real simcha is when you don't feel yourself. Simcha is when you go out of your boundaries, out of your limitations. As long as you're, as you use the English word, you're stuck up about yourself, you can never really have simcha. You know why? Because you're into yourself. That's it. You're limited. Simcha preidet together. Simcha breaks barriers. That's why simcha is so important in Yiddishkeit. Even in the Avodah of Tshuva, the Rebbe said countless times, and this is a Chassidic concept. In the world, they don't analyze it this way. Do you know that in the world, ask somebody if Tshuva of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur means simcha. They'll say, what are you, crazy? It means being depressed, being down and out, feeling awful, becoming introverted. That's against Torah, Chassidus says. Why? Because the pasuk says, "Ivdur Hashem b'simcha," you have to serve Hashem with joy. So tshuva, which is a fundamental aspect in serving Hashem, of course you have to have simcha. And therefore, Chai Elul, the Rebbe explained, is a good Yom Tif. It's a level of simcha. In the reckoning and the preparation for the new year, we have to have simcha. But what are these two things of what the previous Rebbe said, that Chai Elul adds life into Elul, or Chai Elul adds life into Ani L'Deidi V'Deidili? And I'm going to explain this and not go off a little bit, but I'm going to explain it. And this is a general differences between the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. We mentioned before, the Alter Rebbe started the general Chassidus HaKloli. I'm sorry, the Baal Shem Tov, The Baal Shem Tov started the general Chassidus. The Alter Rebbe started Chassidus Chabad. What does this mean? So let's Farbrengen a little bit. Okay? Torah, just like a Yid has a neshama and a body, neshama and a guf, that's what makes a human being. Torah has a neshama and a guf. Torah has a soul and a body. Just like a Yid has a soul and a body, Torah has a soul and a body. What's the neshama and body by a Jew? The body you see, the neshama you don't. You don't see the neshama, you see a body. The fact that the body functions, the life of the body, that's because of the neshama. God forbid a person passes away and the neshama leaves the body doesn't move because it's dead. There's a whole body there, but it's dead. There's no life to it. What is the neshama's function in the body? It doesn't create the body, but it gives life to the body. In Torah, there's two parts. There is the body of Torah, which is the revealed part of Torah, which means Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, Chumash, Rashi, in the open, simple way of learning Chumash and Rashi, Mishnah, Gemara, Halacha. That's called the body of Torah. That's tangible. You see it. You can feel it. You can tap it. Even intellectually, you can tap it. Then there's the neshama of Torah. What is the neshama of Torah? It says that is Chassidus and Kabbalah. Chassidus is the neshama of the Torah. It's called in the Zohar Nishmasa De'oraisa, the soul of the Torah. What does it mean, the soul of the Torah? The soul of the Torah means it puts life into Torah. You know, we watch living Torah. You know who made Torah living? The Rebbe. Chassidus made the Torah living. And therefore, the Rebbe Rashab writes, printed, that whoever doesn't learn Chassidus is Chayiv Misa. Deserves cap. That's what the Rebbe Rashab writes. He doesn't mince words. He says, whoever doesn't learn Chassidus is Chayiv Misa. Why? Because you can't learn dead Torah. Torah is a body. The body is the goof. Again, the halacha, the Mishnah, the Gemara, that's the body of Torah. You need the life, the neshama of Torah. Make the Torah relevant, alive. You ever see a person's depressed, they're like dead. You know, a person's happy, they're alive. A person at Torah has to be alive. Torah can be a depressed Torah. It can't be a dead Torah. It has to be a living Torah. It has to be alive. We need to live with it. It becomes part of us. And we actually live with it and thrive with it and grow with it. And we want more of it because we want to breathe cleaner air. That's what Chassidus is. But when the neshama gives life to the body, okay, there's two types of life that the neshama gives to the body. There's what's called, in Chassidus brings it down, Chayis Kloli and Chayis Prati. Chayis Kloli means the general life. A person is born, the neshama comes into the body. What happens? There's two life that the neshama gives to the body. One is the person's alive, general life. You're alive. Baruch Hashem, you are alive. The head is alive, the stomach is alive, the foot's alive, the toenails are, it's all equally alive. Because it's a general life that the neshama gives to the body, that it's alive, period. Then there's a detailed life that the neshama gives to the body. And that detailed life that the neshama gives to the body is that the eyes could see, and the nose could smell, and the mouth could talk, and the ears can hear, and the brain can think, and the hands could write, and the foot could walk, and the stomach could digest food. That's called Chayis Prati. So just as it is in the neshama of Torah, of a person, the neshama of a person and the body of a person, that the neshama is the life of the person, but there's two types of life that the neshama gives the person. One is general life, and one is a detailed life, that the person functions in details. The same thing the Rebbe explains, the Rebbeim explains. The Baal Shem Tov was Chayis Kloli. Both are Chassidus, both are the neshama of Torah. The Baal Shem Tov brought into the world a life of Torah. General life. Chassidus HaKloli, it was called. The Alter Rebbe, later on, and the Alter Rebbe's neshama came down to do this, and that was Chabad Chassidus. Chabad Chassidus is a particular detail, intellectual way of reaching Hashem. The Baal Shem Tov's way, as the Rebbe writes, was the concept of tzaddik b'emunasa yichya. A tzaddik lives with his emunah. Emunah faith and belief in Amun and Bitochen in Hashem, that's general. That's general. Chabad is already personal. It's already detailed. It's not general. It's more detailed, but it's more permeating because it's actually in the physical brain of the person. So therefore, this explains another thing that the previous Rebbe said. The previous Rebbe said that the Baal Shem Tov said, what did he accomplish? The medarf dinan damebeshtin, how you are supposed to serve God. And the Alter Rebbe brought the meken dingen, how you're able to. The Baal Shem Tov taught you need to serve Hashem, how you are to serve Hashem. And the Alter Rebbe showed how you can serve Hashem. What's the difference? In it, just be practical. Listen, l'chaim. Come on, guys, say l'chaim. Women say it on wine or grape juice, but man, come on, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. L'chaim.
Huh? Anyway, the difference is like this. And this is what Alter Rebbe accomplished in Chassidus Chabad. It has to come from us. What we get from above is wonderful and fine. But you know what? It's not me. We mentioned many times that not Chabad Chasidus, what's called Chagas Chasidus, Chesed Gvurat Teferes Chasidus, emotional Chasidus, which are great, 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 holy tzaddikim. Their level was the tzaddik did it for you. You have to just connect to the tzaddik. Like the pasuk says, tzaddik b'emunasa yichya. Literally, it means the tzaddik lives with his emunah. But those chassidim read it, tzaddik b'emunasa yichaya. When you have emunah in the tzaddik, he will do it for you. You have proper emunah, proper dedication and devotion to the tzaddik will do the avodah for you. And therefore, there are great, great, great tzaddikim. Really holy colleagues of the Alter Rebbe, disciples, holy people. They would give out shirayim. They would eat the meal and then they would throw out food to the chassidim. And the great ones would say, here's Ava, here's love of Hashem, here's fear of Hashem. The Rebbe Marash was once somewhere, and somebody said to him, maybe you'll give shirayim, maybe you'll give it. So the Rebbe Marash said to them, my shirayim, what I give out, leftovers, are not mizaka. They're not a merit. They're mechayev, they obligate you. The Alter Rebbe's Chiddush in Chassidus Chabad, in the detailed Chassidus, Chayis Prati, was it gotta be done by yourself. Because if somebody does it for you, it's not really you. There's a big difference if I teach you something or you learn it yourself. When you learn it yourself, you accomplished it. I can bake you a cake, or you can, no, you don't want me to bake you a cake, but somebody can bake you a cake, or you can bake it yourself. Which one's better? The bakery cake might look better, to tell you the truth. But this you made, and that was given to you. In Chassidus HaPrati, what the Alter Rebbe accomplished and wanted from the Chassidim was, you gotta do it yourself. The mind gotta work. The Rebbe says, I'm going to help you, but I'm not doing it for you. You need a power from above. I'm willing to do it. When you do it, I will give you the power to accomplish what you need to do. And the Rebbe explains these are the two things that the previous Rebbe said. The previous Rebbe said, Chai Elul adds life in Elul. General Elul. Elul is a lot of things. There's a lot of acronyms for Elul. There's an acronym of Torah. There's an acronym of Tefillah. There's an acronym of Tzedakah. There's an acronym of Tshuva. There's a million acronyms of Elul. They'll list hundreds of acronyms of Elul. But then the Frierdiker Rebbe said the second version of Elul. It adds life into the Ani l'Deidi v'Deidi li. There's two psukim in Shir Hashirim. One pasuk says Ani l'Deidi v'Deidi li, which is an acronym for Elul. And then there's another pasuk in Shir Hashirim that says Deidi li v'Ani loi. My beloved is to me and I am to him. And Chassidus explains what's the difference. One's Elul and one's Nisan. One's Tishrei and one's Nisan. Elul is Ani l'Deidi. It starts from me. Then Deidi li. Hashem reacts to me. Nisan is a revelation from above. What happened on Pesach? Nigla Aleya Melech Malchi Amlochem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem revealed himself and redeemed the Jews. So what is Nisan Nes? The word Nisan is Nes. It's a revelation from above. What's the Aveda of Elul? The primary Aveda of Elul from all the psukim of Elul is Ani l'Deidi v'Deidi li. It starts from us. Us connecting to Hashem. And that's why we said before, Nisan, there's a Gemara in Brachas. Gemara says if you have a dream with the letter Nun in it, you should know Nisim, you're going to get miracles. What happens, the Gemara says in Brachas, if you have a dream with two nuns in it, Nisim Nasalai. Miracles and miracles are going to happen to you. How's the word Nisan? Starts with a nun and ends with a nun. The whole thing is miracles. But that's a revelation from above. That's what happened by Pesach. Hashem revealed himself to the Jewish people. They were down and out in Egypt, lowest of levels, almost the 50th level of impurity. Hashem revealed himself to them and took them out. What's the Aved of Elul? Starts from us. Yes, the king comes out into the field, and there's Yud Gimel Midas Rachmim, like we learned. The 13 attributes of mercy are revealed in the month of Elul. That's to give us a push. But what is the Avodah of Elul and Tishrei? How does Tishrei, what's the month of Tishrei? Tav, Shin, Reish, Yud. The Aleph base backwards. Tav, Shin, Reish, Yud. It starts from below going up. So the Rebbe explains in a Sikha that when the Frierdiker Rebbe said there's two Lashonos, there's two expressions that Chassidim used to say. One is it adds life to the Avodah of Elul. And the second one, it adds life into the Avodah of Ani l'Deidi v'Deidi li. The Rebbe explains in a Sikha, one is the Baal Shem Tov and one is the Alter Rebbe. Chai Elul, from the Baal Shem Tov's perspective, adds life in the general life, in the general Hasidus, in the Avodah of Elul. Elul is a lot of acronyms. Everything. The second version that the Frierdiker Rebbe said Chassidim used to say what Chai Elul is about, that refers to the Alter Rebbe, Ani l'Deidi v'Deidi li. The Alter Rebbe said it's not enough that the tzaddik does it for you. What we need to do is have us do it. And that's the simcha that we need to have, by the way. Can you imagine? Hashem says to you, to us, to you and me, and to all of us, Guy, you could do it. I'm going to help you. But you know what? I'm not doing it for you. You are mature enough, you are spiritual enough, you're great enough that you could do it yourself. Can you imagine the simcha that a Jew says, I could do it myself? I can attach to Hashem, initiating it for myself. Yeah, there's a power, a koyach from above. Hashem gives, like, the lightning that started going. But the Avodah is me. And it's a tremendous simcha that the Jew has. Okay, another aspect, time to say another, l'chaim. Chaim.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's two questions. Number one, why we always hear Baal Shem Tov and jump to Alter Rebbe? Wasn't Maggid important, or was he a big tzaddik, yes or no? And second question is, Samach Seder sons created some other thing. Do we follow their writings, and are they part of Chabad?
There's two way different questions.
Yes. So I just want to put it in. Yeah.
Okay. In Chassidus Kloli, this is not for now, this is for a Chassidus Shir. But in Chassidus Kloli, there's two levels. Okay, one is the Baal Shem Tov, one's the Maggid, before it comes into the Pnimius. In fact, when the Baal Shem Tov gave a bracha to the parents, and then they started coming to, the father came to the Baal Shem Tov every year after he was born. And the Baal Shem Tov made sure, said to him, listen, usually brilliant kids, parents like to brag about what their kids do. Baal Shem Tov said to him, they shouldn't even tell people the kid was born. And they should definitely not tell people about what the kid was doing. On his third birthday, when Alter Rebbe turned 3 on Chai Elul, the father asked the Baal Shem Tov if he can bring the son for upsharinish. That the Baal Shem Tov should cut his hair. Baal Shem Tov agreed, but he said, you cannot bring the kid. The mother, Rivka, and her sister, and the aunt, Dvora Leah, which was her sister-in-law, Dvora Leah, they could bring the boy to the Rebbe, to the Baal Shem Tov. They brought on the third birthday of the Alter Rebbe, I wanted to mention this before, I forgot. They brought the kid on the upsharnish to the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov cut his hair and gave him fabulous brachas, and they went home. The Baal Shem Tov said, go home, don't hang around here, just go home. Later on, on the way home, the kid said to the mother, who cut my hair? So she said, the Zayda cut your hair. Your grandfather cut the hair. Later on, the Alter Rebbe heard this from the Maggid son of Rabbi Avram the Malach, who was the Alter Rebbe taught him Gemara. He taught the Alter Rebbe Kabbalah when the Alter Rebbe first came to the Mizrach Maggid. He was called the Malach because he was super, like, not a human being. He was just like an angel. He said that the Baal Shem Tov told the Maggid about the greatness of the Alter Rebbe, and he told the Maggid that you should not tell him about me. He belongs to you. That's what the Alter Rebbe said. He belongs to you, the Maggid, and he has to come to you on his own. So the Maggid basically was the Rebbe of the Alter Rebbe saw the Baal Shem Tov once by upsharnish, and that was it. The Maggid was the one that formed, so to speak, the Alter Rebbe. Of course, he was a special neshama, but he formed Alter Rebbe based on the guidelines and teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. But the Baal Shem Tov said to the Maggid, that means for whatever reason, the Baal Shem Tov didn't want that the Alter Rebbe should be his chassid. He wanted him to be the Maggid's chassid. So the Maggid plays a very important role in the Chasidus HaKloli. In the Chasidus HaKloli, there were two levels. To quote the Rebbe, in Kesed, which is not part of the body. The body begins intellect and emotions, correct? Seichel and Midas. On top of the head is the crown, Keser. In Keser, we learned, anytime you learn Chassidus, you'll know, in Keser, there's two parts of the crown. There's a part of the crown that goes on the head, and then there's the part of the crown which higher up. Correct? Chassidus HaKloli, the Rebbe explains, is the level of Keser. In Keser, there's two levels. The Baal Shem Tov, which is the higher part of the crown, and then the Maggid that taught the Alter Rebbe and formulated the connection to Chassidus Chabad. Chabad began the internalization of the neshama in the body is in the intellect. The crown is above the head. So Chassidus Klali, the Rebbe always explains, is the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid. Those are the two levels of Keser, which are the crowns on top of the head, the klal. And then it comes into Seichel and Midas, that's the Alter Rebbe with the 7 Rebbes, including the Alter Rebbe. That's Seichel and Midas, and the way it works in all the Rabbeim, that the Rebbe is Malchus, and the Frierdiker Rebbe was Yisod, and the Rebbe Rashab was Hoyd, and the Rebbe Mash was, all the various different levels of the Rebbeim and these things. Now, concerning the children of the Tzemach Tzedek, Chabad Chassidus is different than the ones that they taught, but basically, after a while, they all rejoined, not the children themselves necessarily, but the Chassidim eventually, most of them became followers of the Rebbe Marash anyway. So basically, there was the compass to Chassidus and the different levels, the different Chassidus, based on the teachings of the Tzemach Tzedek and the Alter Rebbe, but not based on the Rebbe Marash. So it was, but they were brothers. They were close. I mean, there was, they weren't fighting each other. They were very close, and it was a different style of Chassidus. Okay, now let's discuss one more thing.
Rabbi.
What?
So this is all Tzaddikims, either if it's general or individual. What about us, average human being? We try and try. Most of the time we fail, and yet still we don't really feel it.
Okay, very good question. All the way from Arizona. It's a good question.
Yes, sir.
We're probably hotter than you guys are anyway now. Anyway.
115.
Oh, close. Okay, anyway, coming back to your question, what does this mean? Honestly, I wasn't planning to talk about this because I was going to talk about the concept of a birthday, how it applies to the Alter Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov, but let me discuss it because this is really what we're talking about. Klal Yisrael, the Jewish nation, is one big body. Remember we said all the souls of all generations were included in Adam Rishon with the exception of the Alter Rebbe's, Neshama Chadashis, and those things. Just like, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, just like the Avis, the patriarchs, and Moshe Rabbeinu were called the heads. And as generations went on, some generations were called the hands and the stomachs and the feet, and now we're called in the Zayar, Ikvis the Mashiach, the heels of this body, starting from Avraham Avinu with the head, and now we're the lowest, right before the coming of Mashiach, we're the lowest part of the body. In every generation, we also have that. Every generation, the Jewish people are one big body. This body is composed of a head and a neck and a stomach and the hands and feet and the entire body. The foot might not understand the head. In fact, it doesn't. Because the foot is, the function of the foot is not to understand. The function of the foot is not to have brains, of seichel, of understanding. What's the function of the foot? Action, to do. Meaning, when a person wants to move the foot, so the head says move and the foot moves. Now, does the foot feel the greatness of the head? No. But When is the foot alive? When you don't amputate the leg. As long as the leg is a part of the body, there's still a connection between the head and the leg. Whether the leg feels it or not is not relevant, because the purpose of the foot is not to understand the greatness of the head. The purpose of the foot is to do what the head wants it to do. In our generation, Rebbe is head. That's what Rebbe stands for, Rosh B'nai Yisrael. He's the head. We, necks, hands, stomachs, feet, toenails, ingrown toenails, it doesn't matter, heels. But we're all connected. As long as we are alive, like you said before, Chai Elul, we are alive, we are connected. The problem is, when does a limb need, God forbid, medically to become severed? When it loses that connection with the head. When the foot gets so sick, it's not bottled anymore, not to the head, not to the neshama. It becomes so separated because because it became so sick, God forbid, for whatever reason it is, the foot loses its connection with the soul and the head, which is the lifeline of the body. But the bottom line is, each one of us has a mission and a purpose to accomplish. What I need to do is what you need, not what you need to do. And what you need to do is not what he or she or him or her need to do. A birthday, Chai Elul, the birthday of Hasidus, is the day that God said, your neshama came down into the world. The Alter Rebbe has it. His mission, his purpose. The Alter Rebbe had his purpose, and me and you have our purpose. Generally speaking, it's to do all Torah mitzvahs, to learn all of Torah and keep all of mitzvahs. But when we connect to our head, when we connect to the head, meaning we realize there is a head, and we realize I want to be connected to the head, even though I'm not, but I want to be connected to the head. In Yiddishkeit, believe it or not, that's good enough. Obviously, we have to do more and more and more and more. But as long as I'm connected to the body, I'm still alive. When you stop being connected, it, God forbid, when we're dead. The lifeline is Torah mitzvahs. Okay, Hashem, Torah mitzvahs. That's what it's all about. What does the Rebbe do? A Rebbe, because he is the head, is the communicator between us and Hashem. The Rebbe tells us what Hashem wants from us now, in our generation, in our particular time. And then when we do and we listen and we want to be connected, then we are connected. So don't say, you cannot belittle yourself to think, oh, I'm worthless. I'm not doing what I could be doing. Everybody has to feel that way. But you can feel that in one of two ways. You can either say, you know what? I'm worthless. All you get from that is depression. What the Rebbe wants from us, Chai Elul wants from us, we should be alive. What does it mean, be alive? I know what I am, and I know what I should be, and I know I could do it, and I'm going to do it. Sometimes we sin, yeah. Sometimes when you run, you slip, and you get up. What do? You get up and keep running. What happens in life? We all fall. Sheva yipol tzadik v'kom. But the difference is, when a person falls, what's your attitude? Should your attitude be, you know what, I fell, I'm done. Or should the attitude is, I fell, Baruch Hashem, I'm going to get up and go back and do it better than I did before. The fall was just a break to be able to continue better. So therefore, to answer your question, what was your question? Why, but we're not doing anything? Who says we're not? The attitude of a Jew, according to Chassidus, is not that we are not doing. The attitude is, I'm doing, we're not doing enough. I can always do better. But that's positive thinking. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov taught us, and that's what the Alter Rebbe taught us, and that's what the Maggid, Mezritcher Maggid taught us. You have to be alive. Yeah, you're alive, you make a mistake. Anybody in business, you make a mistake, okay, I did a stupid deal. So you did a stupid deal. So what are you going to do, sit and cry and give up the business because you made a stupid deal? No, I made a stupid deal. You know, they tell a story. A secretary once made a secretary of a big business, made a mistake. And because of that, she caused the company $1 million loss. She caused the company $1 million loss. She goes to the boss and she says, you're probably going to fire me now, no, for my mistake? And the boss said, are you crazy? I just spent $1 million training you because you're never going to make that mistake again. This is he was probably a goy, but he had a Hasidic insight. You made a mistake. Why should I fire you? I just trained you that you're not going to make that mistake again. The Gemara says a person doesn't really get it until they made a mistake in it. So do we make mistakes? Everybody. There was once an encounter with Chabad in the 60s. And Reb Zalman Posner was asked by a student, does the Rebbe make mistakes? Does the Rebbe make mistakes? I'll never forget his answer. He smiled and he said, not a mistake me and you are going to catch. On the Rebbe's level, Ein Tzadik Bar says she asked the Rebbe, it's possible. Students went into the Rebbe and they saw on the Rebbe years ago, the Rebbe used to have audiences for college kids. And during the year, whatever, it was very interesting. But one time they came into the Rebbe, and you know, they're hyped up about the Rebbe, holy, holy, holy. And the Rebbe used to, when the Rebbe answered, the Rebbe usually wrote in pencil, not in pen. It was interesting, for whatever reason. The Rebbe wrote in pencil. In fact, one of the Rebbe's secretaries, Ramesh Leib Rushton, one of the private personal secretaries of the Rebbe, he never had no kids, but he always used to like to make the Rebbe laugh. That was his job, to make the Rebbe laugh. He once went in for dictation. He wanted a pencil this big, tiny, tiny pencil. So the Rebbe said to him, you don't have a bigger pencil? So he took out from his pocket a massive pencil. It's time to make the Rebbe laugh. Anyway, so they came into the Rebbe, these students, and he saw on the Rebbe's desk was a pencil with an eraser. So they said to the Rebbe, listen to this. They said to the Rebbe, we were told that the Rebbe doesn't make a mistake, so why do you need an eraser? Good question. And you know what the Rebbe answered them? Even more brilliant. The Rebbe said an eraser is not necessarily to erase a mistake. An eraser, sometimes you can erase something because you thought of something better. An eraser doesn't mean I made a mistake. An eraser means I had a good point, but you know what? I could have had a better point. That's what the Rebbe's lifestyle was instilling in the Chassidim. The Rebbe instilled in the Chassidim, you fall down, get up, and become better than before. That's what the Avodah of Tshuva is. What's Tshuva? Depression? That's a non-Chassidic version of Tshuva. Depression. In fact, you ever notice when they sing in the shul, Yom Roshani and Kippur, especially Yom Kippur, Ashamnu Baga, they sing, la da ya ya ya, it's a whole song. Ashamnu Bagadnu, Yal Kolam Malaikas Lech. What are you singing? It's Al Chet. What are you singing? There's a story with the Baal Shem Tov with a Chazan. He told the Chazan said, Rebbe, we can do tshuva and Hashem accepts us. We shouldn't be happy. We could do tshuva and Hashem accepts us. That's what the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe taught. Chassidus HaKloli, Chassidus HaPrati, all these things. This is what the Baal Shem Tov taught us. Okay, I know it's late. Let me go through one. It's a Farbrengen. We can go a little over. Let me tell you one more thing. Okay, when a baby is born, and the Rebbe again has the sikha about Chai Elul, the birth of the Baal Shem Tov, the birth of the Alter Rebbe. The Rebbe asks, a baby is born, everybody screams, Mazel Tov, the big simcha. Think about it, it's not such a big simcha. The baby was complete before it was born. The baby before it was born was complete. Not only was it complete, it had no problems. The mother fed it. Everything was taken care of. Not only that, an angel came and teaches him the whole Torah. It's bliss. It's bliss. The kid is in Gan Eden. He's in the mother's stomach. He's protected. He's learning the whole Torah. He's fed. He's nourished. Everything is taken care of. And all of a sudden, a baby is born. Everybody screams Mazel Tov. What's the Mazel Tov? The kid just forgot everything he learned. Now the kid got to get on his own. What's the big Mazel Tov? And the Rebbe explains this exactly is the Mazel Tov, that he becomes a separate entity. Now he's in a neshama and a guf, not part of the mother. Before baby's born, it's uba yarechima, it's one. Now it's born, it becomes a separate entity. Even in Allah, there's a big difference. If the baby in utero and the baby is causing danger to the life of the mother, then you kill the baby and save the mother. But once the baby is born, they're equal because he's not part of the mother anymore. He's a separate entity. This is the birthday of the Alter Rebbe. Okay? This is the ultimate purpose, what Hashem wants from us. We have a neshama, or we have a guf. We have a neshama of Torah, we have a guf of Torah. We have a neshama of Torah and body of Torah. We have a neshama in ourselves. We need to connect neshama to neshama. What Chai Elul is all about is a preparation for the Yomim Neiron, for the days. And as the Baal Shem Tov was told by Mashiach, when are you coming? And the Baal Shem Tov, the neshama went up to the chamber. Don't ask me how. The Baal Shem Tov, the neshama went up to the chamber of Mashiach. And he said to Mashiach, Eimase Kasimar, when are you coming? And he answered him, when your well springs will be disseminated to the most outside levels. That's what our mission is. Chai Elul is the preparation for Rosh Hashanah. Chai Elul tells us, guys, don't get depressed. Become alive. Let's become living Torah, living Jews. Let's become alive. Let's go into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with the proper attitude of what Rosh Hashanah is all about and what Tishrei is all about. It's a month of Chodesh Hashvi, a month full of Kedusha. And like it says, it's like a peddler goes to the cities to load on goods, and then he comes home and sells the goods. Tishrei is like the wholesale market. Tishrei, we load up. We're going to talk about this more during Tishrei. We load up with goods that the whole year we can unload it. We need to be happy. We have a connection to the Rebbe. We're connected to Chassidus. We're connected to the Baal Shem Tov. We're connected to the Alter Rebbe, to the older Rebbeim, the Maggid, the older Rebbeim. Let us understand what we could accomplish. There's an unbelievable amount we could accomplish even before Rosh Hashanah. The expression Chassidim are smart. Let's not be foolish to waste the time, this auspicious time, from doing things that we could be doing. Not, God forbid, depression. Not saying, oh, I didn't do. That's garbage. What we need to do is say, look what more I could accomplish. Accentuate the positive instead of speaking with the negative, dealing with the negative. You fight dirt, you get dirty. And Chassidus says, you think positive. Let's see what we can move on. Asay Tov. Hashem should bless all of us. We should get ready for the Yom Tov properly. And again, I want to mention that starting tomorrow and Wednesday, the class is now going to be 8 o'clock. The Zoom class, not 8:30. We're moving it up to 8. Please tell those people it's just easier for a lot of people. 9:30 is 8:30 to 9:30 is late. We should all be blessed with the Chesiva Chesima Teva. Like we said, Tafshin Pei Aleph stands for Tehei Shnas Arenu Plois, which has seen miracles. Hashem should bless all of us. L'chaim, everybody.
L'chaim.
Amen. Amen.
Hi, Elul. Preparation, and it should be with the world so messed up. There's only one solution for this mess up, and that's Mashiach. And that's
Amen.
ready for L'chaim, L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Rabbi, do we say
Thank
Tachnun?
you so much,
Do
Rabbi.
we say Tachnun? You do?
Yeah.
L'chaim.
Chaim.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Take care.
So much. Bye, Rabbi.
Bye, Johnny.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye.